Have you ever noticed that during particularly stressful times, your body weight starts to creep up and up? Well, it's a really common issue, and it's because stress plays such a profound role on our metabolism and our eating habits, which can lead to weight gain for many of us through stressful times. And in order to understand how this happens, it might be helpful to break down how our body responds to stress. Now, when we encounter a stressor, our body releases hormones like cortisol and adrenaline as part of the fight or flight response. And these hormones stimulate physiological responses within our body, things like increasing our heart rate, blood pressure, and available energy to help us deal with the stress. And this is an evolutionary mechanism going back thousands of years, when stresses might have involved us having to run away from saber-toothed tigers or other extreme dangers, and we needed that energy. The issue is that in our modern environment, most of the stresses that we experience don't require us to use any energy at all. And one of the primary hormones released during stress is cortisol, and it's known as the stress hormone. Now, whilst cortisol is essential for survival, chronically elevated stress leads to persistently elevated levels of cortisol, which can have really negative impacts on our health, including excessive weight gain. And this is because cortisol stimulates carb and fat metabolism to create a surge of energy through our body, which would be essential in survival purposes, but less so in our modern environment. And when our body burns through this energy, it then signals that we need to replenish those energy stores, which can lead to increased appetite, but we haven't actually used that energy in the first place. And as sugar is an immediate source of energy, this is one of the reasons why we crave sugary foods during stressful situations. And elevated cortisol levels have also been shown to create cravings for fatty and salty foods too. And all of this creates the perfect storm for eating in excess, big insulin spikes, and all that excess energy being stored as fat. And the negative impact of cortisol on metabolism can continue long after the stressor has finished. There was a 2015 study where it showed that women who'd reported a stressor the previous day had higher insulin levels and burned fewer calories than non-stressed women when they ate a high-fat, high-calorie meal. And this slower metabolism and increased insulin levels, if continued over longer periods of time, can contribute to an increased body weight and excess fat development, particularly around the abdominal area. And beyond cortisol, stress can impact our behaviors in many other ways that also contribute towards weight gain. For many of us, during stressful times, we can eat that's cravings that we may have for high fat, high sugar, high calorie foods that can all contribute towards increased weight gain. And this is because those kinds of foods can temporarily reduce feelings of anxiety by giving us a quick boost of feel-good hormones like serotonin, which for the time being makes us feel better. And this is actually built into us evolutionarily, as when we are stressed, we're seeking out quick sources of energy to help replenish that to deal with the perceived threat. And high sugar, high fat foods just often fit that bill. And there are some unfortunate secondary consequences to stress too. For example, when we're stressed, we may be rushing around, limited on time, not thinking about sitting down and preparing a fully nutritious meal, reaching for the quickest option, unfortunately, often being fast foods or other unhealthy products. And it can also lead to a lack of exercise, as busy schedules and feelings of fatigue make it difficult to prioritize exercise, which is really unfortunate, as exercise can have a positive in helping to reduce stress too. And sleep is another critical factor affected by stress. It also has an impact on weight management that we might not often realize, as many of us have trouble sleeping when we're stressed, and sleep deprivation has been shown to decrease metabolism but increase cravings for unhealthy foods. And not only that, but our ability to control our blood sugar levels can be negatively impacted by just one night of poor sleep, just another consequence of stress on our body composition. And given these challenges, it's really important to do what we can to break the cycle of stress and its consequential effects on weight gain. And here's a few strategies you might want to try and implement if you're suffering from stress too. Now, firstly, you really want to try and make exercise a priority. Exercise has been shown to decrease stress and help us manage weight effectively. Exercise releases endorphins, which are known to improve mood and decrease feelings of stress. And if you can get outside, doing it in the sun and amongst nature, you'll be really stacking up the benefits, as both those factors have been shown to have a big impact on stress too. Secondly, you could try reframing the stresses. In our modern environment, many of the things that we're seeing as stressful are only stressful to us because that's how we're perceiving them. If you can try and see them in a positive light, viewing an opportunity in them, some kind of advantage or positivity, it can help you turn that negative stress around into a positive mindset. Admittedly, this doesn't come with time and does take continued practice, but if you can do it, it has a big impact on that stress as a whole. And number 3 is mindful eating, and this is in a few different areas. Firstly, being mindful about what you eat. So making sure at home that you don't have many different junk options to choose from. Buying healthy foods so that when you open your fridge or your cupboards, there's not too many things to choose from. And secondly, when you're eating, as I mentioned earlier on, stress can contribute towards increased eating. So being mindful whilst you're eating, enjoying the food, chewing it, savouring the tastes and the flavours. And secondly, working in what is a calorie gradient. So starting with the foods that have the least calories in them. Things like your vegetables, your fruits, those kind of things first, as they provide a bulk to the meal, helping fill us up and increase those feelings of satiety before we move on to those more calorie dense foods like your carbohydrates or your proteins and your fat sources, saving those for the end so that we're already filled up by that point and we won't be as likely to overeat as we would do otherwise. And there's a few supplements that could be of use too to help combat stress. For example, one study showed that 4 months of supplementation with omega-3, those are the healthy oils found in things like walnuts, flax seeds and the oily fish. This helped decrease cortisol by a significant amount. And there's also some evidence suggesting that the herb ashwagandha may be useful for helping decrease cortisol levels too. One study showed that 240 milligrams taken daily over a 60-day period significantly reduced cortisol. And whilst you do want to be cautious with it, another study has shown that dark chocolate, just 25 grams a day over a 2-week period, significantly reduced cortisol levels too. And lastly, it's just about incorporating some effective stress management techniques in your day-to-day life so it doesn't build up. Things like meditation, taking a walk in nature, and breathing techniques have shown to be effective in helping reduce cortisol and stress too. If you found this video useful, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We release regular videos about health and well-being optimization.